it's really easy to accept things you like. When you're happy, you probably don't even think about accepting it. When things are going your way, they're what you approve of, they're what you want. Acceptance is really easy. So when is acceptance hard? Well, it's the hardest when you hate what's happening to you, or you really disapprove of it, or it's causing you a lot of pain. So the bottom line is the higher the pain, the harder the acceptance. Let me give you an example. You get married to a nice guy. Then you discover this guy has lots of wonderful qualities that you had actually never noticed. He's completely different than you thought. He's 10 times more wonderful than you thought. Do you think that'd be easy to accept or hard to accept? Right, easy. Well, let's take another case. You marry a guy. He's a nice enough guy. Now you're married. You get to know him. You discover he has lots of negative qualities. In fact, he's got a lot of things about him that you had not known and you do not like. Easy or hard? Hard. Now, why do you think that is? Why is it harder to accept really painful things? Generally, it's because secretly, somewhere inside us, we actually believe that if we refuse to accept something that we don't like, all we have to do is throw a tantrum or refuse to accept it. The next skill we're going to talk about is the skill of turning your mind. Now, turning your mind is a great skill because radical acceptance is not something you can do once. It's something you have to do over and over and over. And how do you get yourself to do that? You get yourself to do that by turning the mind. What you have to practice is turning the mind towards acceptance. It's a little bit like walking down a road, and you keep coming to forks in the road. One direction, accepting, the other direction, rejecting. Turning the mind is when you keep turning your mind towards the acceptance road. So in life, you keep coming to forks, and you have to keep turning the mind to the accepting road. Getting yourself to do it can be really hard. You have to practice over and over and over. The good news is, if you practice turning the mind towards acceptance, eventually you'll practice acceptance more often. And if you do that, what happens? Suffering gets less intense. Suffering goes down to ordinary pain. How do you do it? Well, the first step is you have to actually notice that you're not accepting. The tip-off to not accepting generally is going to be anger, bitterness, annoyance, or you may be falling into the sea of why me. So you're going to want to notice that. Or you might find that you're always trying to escape reality. You're trying to block things out all the time. You're hiding behind other things, or you're covering up how you're really feeling with other things. Do you find yourself saying all the time, why? Why is this happening? Why is this happening? So notice that you're not accepting. The next step is make an inner commitment to accept. The inner commitment is the turning the mind to the road of accepting. So this isn't accepting. Don't worry. You don't have to do it right away. You just have to make the commitment. So go within yourself and make the commitment. In other words, go inside yourself and simply turn your mind towards acceptance. The third step, do it again. Sometimes you may have to do it again, over and over, many times in a minute. Sometimes you have to do it many times in a day. So that's how you do it. Step 1, notice. Step 2, enter commitment. Step 3, do it again. So let's take an example. Let's imagine that you're on the bus, and the bus is taking a really long time, and you want to get where you're going. So you look at your watch, and it's already 45 minutes, and it's usually only 20. You may start noticing you're having lots of non-acceptance thoughts. I can't stand this. They have to hurry up. This shouldn't be taking so long. How much longer? How much longer? Ugh. Well, let's say that you've noticed all this. Then you want to practice turning the mind. The first thing you might do is look at all those thoughts and see if you could replace them. How could you do that? Well, you could say, all right, this is a pain, but it's not a catastrophe. You could say, I don't like it. I'm frustrated. I can stand it. You could say everything has a cause. There's a reason the bus driver doesn't drive better. Then you could notice yourself. See that you're starting to get annoyed, fidget again. You just repeat it over and over and over. So the key idea here is that if you're trying to get from non-acceptance to radical acceptance, you first have to turn the mind. So what's willingness? Willingness is the realization that you are part of and connected to some cosmic process. Not only that, but it's a commitment to active participation in that process. Willingness is when you allow the world to be what it is. And no matter what it is, you agree to participate in the world. So willingness has all to do with the attitude or the stance that you bring to life. Life is a lot like being a batter in front of a pitching machine. So what happens when you're in front of a pitching machine? There's a machine and it's throwing balls at you. And you're standing at one end and the machine's at the other and the balls start coming. You've got a bat. Now, if a ball's coming at you and the pitching machine is throwing it, what are your options? Well, you could either take your bat, pull it back, try to hit the ball, or you could throw a tantrum. You could get really upset. You could say, it's coming too fast. I don't like it. I'm not doing it. I'm not hitting that ball anymore. Stop. You think the balls would stop coming if you did that? No. Life is like that. You can get as upset as you want about life, but actually life just keeps coming. One moment right after the next. What are your options? You can stand there, do nothing, let the ball go by. Or you could stand in front of the ball and just get hit by it. Or you could try to hit the ball. Willingness is trying to hit the ball. Sometimes when I'm trying to explain willingness to people that I work with, I remind them that life is a lot like playing cards. So imagine that you're in a card game. You get dealt a hand of cards, as does everybody else. Now, what's the objective in a card game? The objective is to play the cards you get, right? That's the game. You get the cards, you play them. So imagine you're at a card game. You get your cards, other people get their cards, and one of the players gets mad about their cards. Throws them down and says, I don't like my cards, I want more cards. You say, well, those are the ones you got dealt. And they say, I don't care, it's not fair. You say, well, those are your cards. No, I'm not playing these cards. What would you think? Would you want to play with that player? Probably not. Who do you think is going to win at the card game? Well, it's probably the person who plays the cards. that's willingness. Throwing the cards down and walking out, that's willfulness. Sitting back and saying, I don't care. Oh well, I got a bad hand. Poor me. Whatever. Just throwing any old card out. Willfulness. The idea when you're playing a hand of cards is to play as skillfully as you can. That's willingness. It has everything to do with throwing yourself into life, participating in a willing manner. Willfulness is the opposite of willingness. If willingness is realizing that you're a part of and connected to life, willfulness, it's when you forget life. It's when you deny it. It's when you refuse to be part of it, when you want to sit on the sidelines, or you try to ignore it, or you try to destroy it. Willfulness is a little bit like the terrible twos. When you start saying no, 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 but you're saying no to life itself. You're saying no to reality. You're saying no to what is. All of us have experiences of willfulness. Let's say something's happened to you. It's really painful. Sooner or later, you figure out, all right, I need to accept this. So you turn your mind towards acceptance. And just as your mind's turning, it's almost there, what happens? Up pops willfulness. No, I refuse. I am not going to do it. What do you do when willfulness shows up? Well, the first thing you want to do when willfulness shows up is just notice it. You observe it. You identify it. You describe it. You say, willfulness is shown up. Second, radically accept the willfulness. You've got to accept that it really is there. Third, turn your mind. You turn your mind to willingness. Turn your mind towards acceptance, willingness, participating in reality, just as it is. What if you're having trouble getting yourself to turn your mind? You want to, but your mind isn't turning. What can really be helpful when that happens is to try a willing posture. You know, sometimes you can have a really willful posture. Your mind's going one way and your body's going another. So try a willing posture. What would that be? Well, open your hands. Try it right now. Just open your hands. It is actually hard to be willing with clenched fists. Open your hands. Relax your body. Sit like this, or stand like this. So what if that doesn't work? What do you do next? The next step is ask yourself, what's the threat? Usually, immovable willfulness has to do with some sort of threat. We're thinking that if we're willing, we have something to lose, something terrible is going to happen to us. There's something dangerous out there. That may be true also. Really immovable willfulness also involves some sort of catastrophe. We start saying, not only is there a threat, not only is it dangerous, but I won't be able to deal with it. So we deny it, we push it away, we ignore it. Willfulness allows us to do that. But remember, willingness is the active participation in reality. Willingness is what you need to overcome a threat. Willingness isn't approval, and it's definitely not lying down and letting yourself get rolled over. So ask yourself, what's the threat? Then you could ask yourself, what's the catastrophe?